All right, let's get started. Welcome to It's a Squirrelly World, a photography project I started in September 2015. I think the best way to share this project with you is to answer the most frequently asked questions about the project, starting with the number one most asked question: is it real? I'm not really sure what people mean when they say, is it real? So I tell them, well, I don't have Photoshop. I don't even know how to use Photoshop. So nothing's been Photoshopped. The squirrel's not stuffed. It's real. It's a wild squirrel. The dioramas are real, and he's really in the diorama when I take the picture. So I'm going to go with it's real. How much has this project cost you? Well, if we're talking in terms of time, I never kept track, because I'm sure that number would blow your mind. And if you're talking about in terms of dollars, which I also purposefully didn't keep track of, I'm sure that would shock you. How do you get the squirrels to pose? Well, the squirrels are habituated to come to a particular place. That's where I put the dioramas. I put a peanut in the diorama. And then the squirrel comes and he gets the peanut and he leaves. And then he comes back and he gets another peanut and he leaves. And I photograph him while he's there. But if I want him to stay in the diorama, I use peanut butter. He licks the peanut butter. He pops his head up, looks around, makes sure everything's safe, puts his head back down, and then he pops his head back up again. I'd say about 85% of the time I get the pose I'm looking for. Where do you get the stuff for the dioramas? Well, I make some of the stuff. And I source some of the stuff from garage sales, the Goodwill. I've commissioned somebody once to make a star blanket for me. I found a porcelain toilet in Elma in a small store there. But for the most part, I shop on Kijiji. I shop on Kijiji a lot. And I think I have an addiction now and a little bit of carpal tunnel in my right hand. What is your favorite image? I get asked this all the time. Well, my favorite image will be in this series here. It's one where he's putting out the recycling in his back lane. I love that image. I don't know why. I think it just looks really very realistic. But every time I send my images around to my friends and ask them, hey, do you like this one better than that one? And I throw that one in there, nobody picks it. How do you know when they are in your diorama? Well, I've had a pretty good working relationship. I'm going to go back to another question here. Do you have names for the squirrels? I do have names, but not in the traditional sense, sort of in a non-traditional sense. I had a squirrel that lived in the roof of my house for 4 years. I called him the gay guy. I have no idea what his sexual preference was, but I happened to live on Gay Avenue, and he lived at my house, so I called him the gay guy. Then there's the woodpile guy. He lived at the woodpile in my house. And then there's the gray guy, or rat face, I call him. I don't like photographing him. Then there's the bad paw guy, and, I think you understand. How do you know when they're in your diorama? Well, it's not so much how I know when they're going to be in there. It's like they know that I'm going to be putting some peanuts out. So I have this relationship with a squirrel, the gay guy that lives in the roof of my house. 6:20, 6:30 in the morning, he would run through the metal soffits in the roof. And if I wasn't already up and getting ready for work, that would wake me up. And then he also knew, okay, she's going to put out some peanuts for me. When I came home at lunch, he would go ahead and come again because he knew that I was home because he lived in my house. And so I would put out peanuts for him then also. I also had a really good squirrel that was at the lake. And he knew it was Friday night. He knew I was going to be there for 2 days. I fed him and fed him. So he came to the dioramas. So the first couple of years of this project worked out really well. Then I retired. And I didn't want to wake up at 6:20 in the morning anymore. So I had to kick the gay guy out of the roof of my house. He kicked the woodpile guy out of the woodpile, and then the gay guy left. So now I have no squirrels in my yard. And at the lake, I photographed a squirrel the whole entire summer. The next summer, he never showed up. So the project's going a little bit slower these days. As you can see by my images, I find squirrels fascinating. Did you know they eat pine cones like corn on the cob? They hold each end and turn it round and round. They like to take naps in the afternoon winter sun. They like almonds and acorns more than peanuts, and peanuts more than sunflower seeds. They never met a crabapple they didn't like. They are fiercely more aggressive than gray squirrels, even though they are half their size. They don't like sharing peanuts with the blue jays. I once saw a squirrel almost jump onto a blue jay's back. They love staring contests. They try to intimidate the rabbits to no avail. In Manitoba, we have 10 species of squirrels. 2 are chipmunks, 3 ground squirrels, 1 marmot, 3 tree squirrels, and 1 flying squirrel. The next time you're cursing the squirrel in your yard, I hope you give him a break by remembering these images. Thanks for having me.